Up+Adam.
Tractor systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Up+Adam with Adam Montiel. It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up+Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
All right, True Crime Tuesday. How are you? Thank you for being Up+Adam. My name is Adam Montiel. All right, today we have an interesting show today because we're talking to a person who has been there, done that, and it'll fit the True Crime Tuesday bill. But also we're talking about fiction. We're talking about an author, which we don't delve into too much. And I'm trying to explore more of my delving into fiction. I've always loved nonfiction. I love all kinds of books, audiobooks, articles, right? But fiction, for some reason, has always been such a tough thing for me to get into, really tough. So I thought I wanted to interview an author where we talk fiction and we talk about stories like that. So I think it's going to be a fun conversation. This guy's great too. You ever hear the term gray zone and think, what exactly is that? It's not quite peace. It's not quite war, but the tension is all very real. The weapons are covert. The stakes are global. And this guy, Brad Taylor, man, he knows this space better than almost anyone. A former Delta Force commander turned New York Times best-selling author. Brad takes what he lived and channels it into the page-turning thrillers that often hit the headlines before the headlines even drop. In his latest book, The Gray Zone, it drops us into India, where geopolitical sabotage, rare earth dominance, and Sikh separatism all collide. A massacre during a lavish pre-wedding celebration sets off a chain of events that could only tilt two nuclear nations toward catastrophe. And the fact that these two nations have been in the news recently, crazy. Brad's legendary hero, Pike Logan, can see through the fog of covert chaos and stop what no one else believes is real. Brad's going to join me to talk about truth, fiction, and that dangerous space in between the two. Looking forward to this. Before that, just more crazy articles. First of all, I feel there was an update on that Melody. There was an article that KSBY, I think, or is it the Tribune? I don't remember. They said like her grandma spoke and had a message for her and hasn't seen her in a long time. And then there was like an investigator came out saying, this is the girl I told you she's missing, adorable, precious little angel from Vandenberg Village. And everyone's like, where did this little girl go? And it became a red flag because she didn't show up to independent studies. She used to go to school, right, years ago. And then her mom put her in these independent studies. And there's some sort of audit or check-in and she didn't show up. And so now this investigator is saying, did she drive her daughter to Nebraska? Like the story gets more weird and more weird. I'm watching it. And if you know anything, I'm asking around too, but I don't know. I would love to see. I don't know that this is a happy ending to find this little gal, but man, am I hoping for it, praying for it. What else is going on? This is a national story, but like, how does this even happen? United 1093 is a flight turned into a real life X-Files at 36,000 feet. You'll hear all this declassification of UAPs and pilots seeing this and that, and this new documentary that's supposed to come out in November. Damn, it's supposed to be like they have more people putting their face on camera, going on the record, senior government officials, like the Secretary of State is in this documentary, among more, talking about UAPs and people who've seen non-human life and bodies and vehicles. Holy, it's just nuts. It's nuts. So this story, when this story happens, adds more to just like the what on earth is going on. So again, United Flight 1093, real life X-Files, 36,000 feet. This a couple days ago, Denver to LA. This is one of those 737 MAX 8, right? Cruising over Utah when bang, something smashes the captain's side of the windshield. I mean, the windshield, we're talking fractured outer pane, scorch marks, even sheared rivets. The captain's forearm bloodied from flying glass popping in, but the crew does what pros do. Drops to a safer altitude, diverts, lands in Salt Lake City. Everyone walks off safe. But I feel like when I'm in the plane and I'm at the screen in front of my seat, I could choose little cameras. Isn't there a camera that camera's all over the damn thing, right? This was October 16th. The story just popped. Now, what hit them? What hit them? A bird at 36,000 feet? It's basically a unicorn. Rare to impossible. If there were no feathers or bird glitter, right? Blood, anything, right? Okay, space junk, a micrometeorite. Odds are astronomical that something would hit something like that. But the scorch pattern and something metallic, rumor that's been buzzing. Internal windshield failure from a heater short, that can crack and scorch, but it doesn't explain those sheared rivets that look like something hit it. Something hit it from the outside. Well, United says they swapped jets and kept folks moving. The damaged airplane was ferried to Rockford for a closer look. NTSB, they're on it, pulling radar, weather, flight recorder data, and the windshields, headed to the lab itself. Bottom line, at 36,000 feet over Red Rock country, something tagged this 737 hard enough to cut the captain and spider a window. And nobody can say what it was. Yet, what a wild story. Y'all take mystery at altitude for $500, Alex. Boom. All right, I'm excited to get into my conversation with Brad. Before we do that, let me tell you about my friends at Life Elements. You know, most self-care, they tell you to slow down, take a beat, light a candle, maybe meditate. Sure, Life Elements says, yeah, it's cool, but let's actually fix what hurts too. How about we actually heal? This local Atascadero brand, Life Elements, they make plant-powered wellness that shows up when you need it most. Translation, it works. Broad spectrum CBD, magnesium, calendula, arnica, essential oils, whatever it is, all blended into things like relief sticks, bath bombs, bug sprays, skin healing balms that work right away. I mean, you will feel it. You can stop by their store, 7425 El Camino Real, Suite O, back right corner. You can't miss it. Find their goods at The Hive in Arroyo Grande, a general store in Paso, and of course, online, lifeelements.com. Use the promo code ADAM. Save 15% off your order. And again, I encourage you, go see Martha and Kurt, meet them. Take a deep breath and smell that beautiful spot. 7425 El Camino Real, real healing, real fast, and from real people. Life Elements. Let them know you heard them on Up and Adam.
It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
All right, joining me today, Brad Taylor, combat veteran, Delta Force commander, and one of the most successful thriller authors in the game. With over 3 million copies sold of his Pike Logan series, Brad blends real-world military intel with razor-sharp storytelling that feels less like fiction. That's probably why I'm wrapping myself into it and liking it, and more like tomorrow's headlines. His latest novel, Into the Gray Zone, takes us deep into India's volatile underbelly where covert agendas, proxy wars, cultural identity, they all clash in a high-stakes thriller that's as gripping as it's kind of eerily plausible. Brad, man, welcome to the show. Thanks for being Up and Adam. Real honor to have you on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You know, your novel plays in the space where war isn't war, but peace sure ain't peace either. What do you see when you look into today's gray zone as a soldier, as a strategist, as a storyteller?
Yeah, well, gray zone activities has certainly ramped up in the last couple of decades. Really, since the end of the Gulf War, I think was one of the big turning points against gray zone activities against us, the United States. I mean, Saddam Hussein had the fourth largest army in the world, and we took him on and defeated him within 100 hours, and then we sat there and said, whoa, look at us, we're the best. Well, everybody else in the world said, holy moly, don't take the United States on toe-to-toe, you'll never win. And so they started developing gray zone strategies. And so anything from, Russia doing disinformation on Facebook to sway an election, that's gray zone activities, low risk. High risk, Israel assassinating Iranian scientists to stop their nuclear capability. That's a much higher risk, but it's gray zone activities. Industrial espionage from China, stealing our secrets is gray zone activities. Their Belt and Road initiatives, gray zone activities. Iran's a master at it. They use proxies for everything. So Hezbollah, Houthis, Hamas, when they're doing activities, and Iran says, that's not us, that's the Hezbollah guys. They're just doing that of their own accord. That's gray zone activity, and it goes on all the time.
Now, you write Pike Logan with grit, with precision, but also heart. How much of Pike is you, and how much of Pike is who you had to be?
Pike Logan he's actually I'd say an amalgamation of people I served with. Now, of course, myself, it does get infused in there. Mainly, I'm kind of a smart ass, so he becomes kind of a smart ass. But people ask, are you Pike Logan? And I usually tell them no, that usually I'll say it's kind of like the PGA Tour. I mean, I served in special operations at tip of the spear. I was a commander in special operations. And there's probably 1% of the world that could play on the PGA Tour that has the skill level and capability to play on the tour. Well, there's Tiger Woods, and that's who Pike Logan would be. And then there's some guy who's 100th on a money list that nobody's ever heard of, except if you're an avid golfer. And that's me. Now, I'm playing on the PGA Tour, but I'm not Tiger Woods.
Right. In real life, you worked in Delta Force. In fiction, you write Delta-level thrillers. Which is tougher, surviving the covert ops or surviving Amazon reviews?
Most definitely surviving covert operations.
Yeah.
Amazon reviews are just slings and arrows, okay? I mean, they aggravate me, make me mad sometimes, but, who cares? They're not shooting at me.
If Pike Logan had to team up with James Bond and Jason Bourne, who's given the orders of those three?
Well, it'd definitely be Pike.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Now, you've said Into the Gray Zone pulls from today's headlines, but sometimes your fiction feels like tomorrow's headlines. Do you ever write something and think, gosh, this could really happen? And that in itself is terrifying.
Yeah, well, I try to stay on the cutting edge of what's going on. I still do security consulting for various agencies, and I keep abreast of everything that's happening in the world. And usually the books come from some news story that I've seen. In this case, it was Sikh separatists. There was a Sikh in Canada that was killed in a drive-by shooting. No big deal. And there's more Sikhs in Canada, I learned, than anywhere out except outside of India. Well, then 2 months later, the Prime Minister of Canada came out and said, hey, the Prime Minister of India and the RAW, the Research and Analysis Wing, sent a guy over here to assassinate this Sikh. He was paid to assassinate him. And I was like, what? I mean, you think about that from happening from Iran or from Putin putting plutonium in someone's underwear, but democracies don't send other people assassins to kill in other democracies. Well, I also thought Canada surely wouldn't have accused India of this unless they had some serious proof. Well, then a month later, the FBI here in the United States arrested another guy and said the Prime Minister of India and the RAW sent this guy over here to assassinate a Sikh. And I was like, okay, there's something going on there. So that drove me to do the research on the Sikh problem set and to go to India. I didn't know it, but the Sikhs, it turns out, they have a separatist element, an insurgent element in India that's been around forever. And India is really sensitive to it. The Sikh separatists, a Khalistan commando force, that's India's version of Al-Qaeda. And they've been blowing people up and killing people since the late 80s and early 90s. They were all over the place killing people. They blew an aircraft up in Canada, killed all aboard. So the India is really sensitive to Sikh separatism, and that's why they were sending them over here. And I started doing the research on that, and I said, okay, there's a story here that I didn't know about, and certainly most people don't.
Now, your character, Pike Logan, he travels the world, he breaks rules, he saves lives, but you've got a wife, kids, a quiet life in Charleston. What keeps Brad Taylor grounded when the stories keep raising the stakes?
It would be my family. So it's basically living a daily life that I used to have to deploy all the time, and I was gone all the time, and that's what kept me grounded after I came home from deployments. And it's basically the same thing. I just got home from my book tour, and
cool.
Different city every day for 9 days, and so now I'm just like, okay, let's go walk the dog.
How are those? Are those arduous? Are those kind of fun? It must be nice to see readers in different regions and welcoming you, right?
Yeah, they are a lot of fun, but they're definitely arduous. I mean, you're flying every day, 5:30 wake up, get to the airport, fly to a different state, go to a different city, do the signing. The worst thing is, honestly, is that you don't get enough time to do what you want to do. So every city I go to, there's somebody either that I know or a friend of a friend or a fan that I've met before that says, "Hey, when you're done with the signing, let's go out for a drink or let's go get dinner
Yeah.
or something like that." And 9 times out of 10, it's like, I got to wake up at 4 in the morning and it's now 10 o'clock. I got to go back to the hotel.
Yeah. You know, a recurring theme, Brad, in the gray zone is trust. Who has it? Who loses it? Who weaponizes it, right? In your experience, is trust built in silence or is it built in action?
I think it's built in both. The trust is an immutable thing that you're going to lose. Once you lose it, it's almost impossible to get back. It's very hard to build trust and it's very easy to lose it. But it's built on both actions and verbs or words. So if I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, I'm losing trust. So my actions definitely imply or reinforce trust.
Now, speaking of trust, you know, it's almost kind of like asking, is it harder to trust someone with your life or with your heart? Pike and Jennifer, they have this incredible dynamic, equal parts love, danger, tactical brilliance. What inspired that relationship and how much of that was drawn from real world partnerships that you've either seen or lived?
Honestly, the first thing when I wrote my first book, One Rough Man, I wanted to write a story of redemption. That's all I wanted to write. And I have had no instruction in writing whatsoever. And so I did what everybody does. I Googled, how do you write a book? And one of the things I learned was you write what you know. And so the books have turned into military thrillers, espionage thrillers, but that wasn't what I set out to write. The reason that Pike Logan is a counterterrorist commando is because that's what I was. That's what I know. If I'd have been a cop, Pike would have been a policeman. If I'd have been a priest, Jennifer would have been a nun. So the first book was basically Jennifer pulling Pike out of his moral compass has been shattered and bringing him back to life, so to speak, a redemptive story. But then when I started writing the series, they had to evolve as it went forward. And I'd like to say I had some kind of big plan, when I get to book 5, this is going to happen. In book 9, that'll happen. And I'm such a genius. I didn't think I'd have one book published, much less 19. So I'm flying by the seat of my pants. And their relationship has grown kind of organically like any relationship would grow. When I focus on giving 100% to the book I'm writing, I'm like, okay, this is what's going to happen with a relationship in this book, much like happens in real life.
I'm thinking of the things that you couldn't say before you picked up the pen. Like, you lived through the classified and you've written through the fictional. What's something that only war can really teach you, and yet somehow fiction finally lets you say?
Well, I think one of the things I try to reflect on the page is that the combat is a moral quagmire the moment you step into it. In the movies, the protagonist is always right. If he could just take a drill bit to this guy's knee and those damn bureaucrats would get off his back, he'd solve the problem and the bomb would be defused. Combat's not like that. You make the best decisions you can in combat over and over again, relentlessly, when somebody's life is on balance. And sometimes those decisions are correct and sometimes they're not. And you live with that incorrect decision where somebody got hurt for the rest of your damn life. And I try to fuse Pike with that. He's a human being. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to do what he thinks is right. But what he thinks is right is not always a correct choice.
It's so interesting that you went there right then, because literally where I wanted to go was this concept of moral ambiguity, because it literally pulses through the book. And in the end, can doing the wrong thing ever feel right in the moment?
Yeah, well, that's actually the theme of the first book. So there's two schools of thought, philosophical schools of thought. John Stuart Mill had utilitarianism, which is known as the greater good, which is that the moral quantity of an act is not based on the act itself, it's based on the outcome. So you can steal a loaf of bread if you're going to feed a homeless guy. So the stealing may be bad, but the homeless guy outweighs that. Mm-hmm. Immanuel Kant had a thing he called categorical imperatives, which is the act itself is moral or immoral. Some things are just imperative. You don't do them. And our national security kind of revolves around that. We do a lot of categorical imperatives in national security. So, for instance, the torture debate back when the global war on terror was going on, John McCain says, we'll never, ever, 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 ever torture. Well, that's a categorical imperative. The minute you say, unless there's a bomb in New York City and this guy knows where it is, then we'll torture him. Well, now you've stepped into the greater good. The service academies, a cadet will not lie, cheat, or steal or tolerate those who do. That's a categorical imperative. It's not you can steal a loaf of bread if you're feeding the homeless. And so in the books themselves, Pike was really, his compass was broken, and he just assumed if he did it, the outcome was preordained to be good, so everything was on the table. Whereas Jennifer was more categorical imperative. She was more Immanuel Kant, saying, no, you can't do that just because it's wrong to do that. No matter what the outcome is, you cannot do that. And since through the series itself, both of them have grown and reflected on that. Pike has got his moral compass back, and Jennifer has gotten more gray. She's now realized that, the world is not black and white. Not everything can be categorized as either good or bad simply because the act. Sometimes there is an act, and the outcome dictates whether you do the act or not.
It's crazy. Like when you're writing these villains, these people who believe what they're doing is right, how do you tap into that mindset without getting like lost in it?
Yeah, I'll be honest that, I've interrogated a lot of terrorists, and it's always weird. The guy can be cracking jokes. He seems to be a good guy. And you're like, well, why does he want to kill everybody? But the truth is that I've never met a Dr. Evil as a terrorist. They all think they're the hero in their own story. In this case, in the End of the Gray Zone, Sikh separatists fully believe they're being persecuted. They get persecuted in India, and they have nowhere to go. So they will tell you that, if a Muslim gets persecuted in India, who cares? They can always go to Pakistan. They can go to Bangladesh. There's plenty of places a Muslim can go. I'm a Sikh, and I have nowhere. There's nowhere else on earth for me to go. And so that's what they're fighting for, is their own land, to have a Sikh land that they call Khalistan. And so I try to infuse that in the book to say, these guys didn't wake up one morning and just say, I'm going to be a mass murderer. They see themselves as that very much the greater good. What I'm doing is evil, but the end state of a state of Khalistan for the Sikhs is a good thing. And so I must do this evil to obtain the good.
It's so interesting. Like when you kind of compare this to what's happening now and today, let's just say in, Ukraine and Russia, and, there's some, 41-year-old Ukrainian soldier, because they're all like a lot older than regular, who obviously believes what he believes and we're doing the right thing. Then there's a 29-year-old Russian or North Korean. I don't know what I mean. Like there's these Russian fighting for the Russians, and they're like, no, we have the valiant side. What was that like when you were serving and knowing like, here's this 19-year-old young man who's feeling the same thing I am?
Well, I'll tell you, if you're talking about Ukraine, there's clearly good and evil on that side. The Ukrainian guy, the 41-year-old's fighting because these guys invaded his country to kill his family. The 19-year-old's over there from Russia because Russia ordered him there. The 19-year-old isn't sitting there saying, I'm doing something heroic. Hell, half of them are running from the battlefield or being forced by bayonet point to go do these frontal attacks. So, I mean, I'm not saying the entire world is gray. You can look at situations and find some serious black and white. For instance, ISIS. While that guy may think that his, caliphate is the best thing ever, burning alive a Jordanian pilot and cutting off Daniel Pearl's head is evil.
Right.
And you deserve the bullet you get.
How do you see, as we talk contemporary, how do you see that one ending? How do you see Israel, Palestine, and that whole thing? How do you see, and Iran, how do you see these being framed in the next year to 5 years?
Well, Israel is an intractable problem because of the Palestinians. It's almost unsolvable. Although, I mean, obviously it can be solved with enough effort put into it. We defeated Nazism in World War II, where everybody wanted to slaughter the Jews and they're all bad and all that. We changed the ideology. Germany is now a great country. Japan, the same way. The Japanese people following Tojo were just fanatical, brainwashed to do whatever he said. Now it's a great country. But both of those countries had something that the Palestinians don't. We could change the ideology by saying, you're German. We have nothing against Germany. You're a great German. Just get rid of this Nazism. We could do the same thing in Japan. You're Japanese. We appreciate your culture. Just get rid of Tojo. You guys need to develop your culture in a better way, and they do. You can't do that in Palestine because you can't say they have nowhere. You can't say you're Palestinian, but go live in a refugee camp. The main thing is it's a generational problem in there. Is that they have been brainwashed from third grade on to hate Israel. They're taught in the schools that it's just a way of life to hate Israel. And breaking that cycle is a generational issue.
The whole generation now, we see war through drone footage and headlines. If someone under 30 picks up your book, what do you hope they really take away?
What I hope they take away is a damn good read. I never set out to impart some kind of wisdom. I'd be super arrogant if I thought that was the case. I mean, I just want him to have a good yarn to read, but I mean, the moral ambiguity and the activities of the operators in the book themselves are as realistic as I can make them.
You know, when you lived through war and you then turned around and then wrote about it, what surprised you more in the process, Brad? What combat taught you or what writing about it revealed?
I would say it'd be more what combat taught me. Writing is not, I haven't thought that writing has revealed anything. I find writing to be very rewarding and very challenging to do. And I've learned to be a better writer, but it's more of honing the craft than there was no moment where I wrote something and said, holy moly, now I really understand myself. I put it on the page what comes from me, but I know what it is before I put it on the page.
As someone who's actually operated in the shadows, did writing Into the Gray Zone ever feel a little too close to home, like you were saying the quiet part out loud in a way?
I mean, I put as much realism. My experiences infuse every one of the novels I've written, and that's not. I think any writer does that. It's impossible to do anything without reflecting on your own history. So, if I was going to write a story about riding a bicycle, I would think about what was the last time I ride a bike and what was that like. So when I'm writing stories about operations, gunfights, or surveillance operations, things like that, I naturally defer back to what was it like when I did surveillance in country X against target Y. Mm-hmm. What were some of the good things that happened? What were some of the bad things that happened? And that will infuse the book. Pike will have a problem that I had in the past. Pike will solve that problem probably better than I did, but in hindsight, I can make it better.
Yeah. If you were to look at the world stage right now, China, Iran, Russia, who do you see causing the most problems for the U.S. in the next 5 years?
I think, well, the next 5 years is kind of a short time frame. It's more likely to be China, but usually we're wrong on predicting that stuff. Usually it's going to be something that we did not even see coming. I mean, if you'd asked us in September 9th, 2001, what is the next thing you see happening in the next 3 years? We'd have picked Iran or North Korea or something like that. And then September 11th, the towers dropped. Mm-hmm. So it's usually something we don't see coming.
What is the exit route for the Russia-Ukraine situation? If maybe Pike or you are designing everything and figuring out how to really end this, what do you do?
Well, you could start by reading Dead Man's Hand, the last book I wrote, which was precisely this. So
I love it.
Right now, it's, I would say, people say that Ukraine can't survive. This is, the current administration says they have no cards to play, that, you're going to get beat up and blah, blah, blah. They have plenty of cards to play. I mean, if we want to look at our own history, or Russia's history for that matter, I mean, who would have thought you could take a bunch of guys using flintlock rifles and handmade stuff and defeat the Russian bear, the superpower? Well, it happened in Afghanistan. And then we went into Afghanistan, and we've got nuclear weapons and fighter bombers, and we can do all the damage the world over. And they beat us in Afghanistan. So I don't buy this, there's no way Ukraine can survive. We said they couldn't survive 3 days when the invasion first started, and guess what? They did.
Brad, this has been really fascinating. I can't thank you enough for the time. Link in the show notes to the book, and I would love to chat with you again sometime. Really appreciate you being Up and Adam.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. If they want to get an excerpt of the book, they can go to bradtaylorbooks.com, read an excerpt of that book or any of my books, and see if something they consider continuing.
I'll put that link in the show notes as well. Take care. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Some say life's where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
All right, Brad. Thanking him for the insight, the stories, for bringing the heat both on the battlefield and, man, on the page, too. BradTaylorBooks.com is the website. We'll put links in the show notes to Pike Logan and everything Brad Taylor. Pretty cool. All right, well, October in slow, anything but ordinary. We are celebrating Arttober, baby, from live performances to public art, museums, and the always fun piano in the plaza. Creativity, it's everywhere. Don't miss it. Find your Arttober adventure, slowcity.org/Arttober. All right, coming up just around the corner, we are going to be talking about breaking and entering Christmas. I know, it sounds crazy, feels crazy, but it's right. When you start in October, it makes things a little bit more kind of, okay, that was doable, yeah? So breaking and entering Christmas, where we find a needy family right in time, a family that is, by all accounts, had just a tough tough year for any number of reasons. And we bring the Christmas spirit to that family, let them stay anonymous, and we change the Christmas game for them with your help. Couldn't happen without you. And I know it feels weird to start talking about Christmas even before Halloween. I promise you we got to do it. It's just the way it goes. It makes you feel good when all is said and done, even though it feels weird in the beginning. So this week, we're going to be breaking that open, breaking and entering Christmas. I can't wait. All right, thanks to our friends at Moonshiner Collective for the original music on the show called Start Again, to Timbre Winery, giving us the Timbre Lobro Studios, Timbre Winery, Timbre, TimbreWinery.com. And I don't think I said moonshinercollective.com. Stream them wherever you get your music. And thank you to you for rating, reviewing, subscribing to the show, being here, sharing with a friend. You are more than a download. You are a blessing to this community, and you mean a lot to me. Appreciate you. Till tomorrow, be well. Enjoy the day. I'm Adam Montiel. Thank you for being Up and Adam.
Some say life's where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's start again. We'll start again.